What if your story could feel as timeless as ancient legends? Imagine writing a tale that echoes across generations like myth. Stories that feel older than memory yet alive in every word. That is the hidden power of ancient myths in storytelling. But here is the real question. How do you use them effectively? Most writers think myths are just old stories to borrow, but that approach often creates shallow and predictable narratives. True myth-inspired writing goes much deeper than surface elements. It captures emotions, beliefs, and cultural truths beneath a story. And that is what makes your fantasy feel truly powerful. Think about the myths you have heard since childhood. Stories of gods, heroes, monsters, and impossible journeys. They were not just entertaining, they carried deeper meaning. Each myth explained something about life, fear, or human nature. That is why they have survived for thousands of years. Now imagine bringing that same depth into your own writing. Your story suddenly feels bigger than just its plot. It starts to carry emotional and philosophical weight naturally. Readers feel something deeper without even understanding why. That is the magic you are trying to create. The first step is understanding the core of any myth. Every myth is built around a central idea or truth. It could be about sacrifice, ambition, love, or destruction. These themes connect across cultures and time periods effortlessly, and they make your story universally relatable. But do not copy myths directly into your story. That creates something predictable and lacking originality. Instead, extract the core idea and reshape it creatively. Build something new while preserving the emotional essence. That is where originality truly begins to shine. Now consider the role of gods and powerful beings. In myths, they are not always perfect or morally right. They are flawed, emotional, and often unpredictable in actions. This makes them feel more real and deeply engaging. You can apply the same concept to your characters. Create powerful figures who struggle with their own flaws. Let their decisions shape the world in unexpected ways. This adds depth and tension to your narrative naturally, and readers become invested in their journey emotionally. Another powerful element is the hero's journey structure. Many myths follow a transformation from ordinary to extraordinary. A character begins weak, confused, or unaware of their destiny. Then challenges force them to grow beyond their limits. This transformation keeps readers deeply connected throughout the story. But remember, myths are not always about happy endings. Some end in tragedy, loss, or irreversible consequences. That unpredictability makes them feel more authentic and impactful. You can use this to create stronger emotional resonance. Setting also plays a crucial role in myth-inspired fantasy. Ancient myths often exist in rich symbolic environments. Mountains, oceans, forests, and skies carry deeper meaning. These settings are not just backgrounds, but active elements. They influence the story and reflect inner struggles. When building your world, think beyond simple geography. Ask what each place represents emotionally or symbolically. This creates a layered experience for your readers and makes your world feel alive and meaningful. Language and tone also matter when using mythic elements. Myths often feel poetic, mysterious, and slightly elevated. You do not need complex language, but meaningful phrasing helps. Every sentence should feel intentional and slightly timeless. Now here is where things become even more interesting. Not all myths come from the same cultural perspective. Each culture interprets the world in unique ways. This gives you endless inspiration to explore and learn. But you must approach these sources with respect and understanding. Avoid misrepresentation or careless adaptation of cultural elements. Instead, learn the meaning behind each myth deeply, then reinterpret it thoughtfully within your own creative vision. Because when done correctly, myths add incredible depth. They transform simple stories into something unforgettable and timeless. But this is only the beginning of your journey, because knowing myths is different from using them effectively, and that difference changes everything in your writing. So now, let's explore how to apply them powerfully. Now let's move from understanding myths to actually using them effectively. Because knowledge alone will not transform your writing into something unforgettable. You must learn how to apply these ideas with purpose. And that begins with how you build your story's foundation. Every powerful fantasy world starts with a strong central conflict. Ancient myths often revolve around fundamental human struggles. Gods versus mortals, order versus chaos, creation versus destruction. These conflicts feel timeless because they reflect real human experiences. You should anchor your story around one of these core tensions. This gives your narrative depth from the very beginning. Next, think about how myths reveal their worlds slowly. They do not explain everything directly or immediately. Instead, they leave room for mystery and interpretation. This creates curiosity and keeps readers deeply engaged. You can use the same approach in your writing. Avoid over-explaining your world or its history too early. Let readers discover truths through events and character actions. Reveal pieces gradually like clues in an unfolding legend. This makes your story feel immersive and layered, and it encourages readers to stay invested longer. Another important technique is symbolic storytelling. Myths rarely say things directly. They communicate through symbols. A storm might represent anger, change, or divine intervention. A journey could symbolize personal growth or transformation. These symbols add hidden meaning beneath the surface. When writing your story, think about deeper meanings constantly. Ask what each event represents beyond its immediate purpose. This adds richness without making your writing complicated, and readers will feel that depth even subconsciously. Now consider the role of repetition in mythic storytelling. Myths often repeat patterns, phrases, or events intentionally. This creates a rhythm that feels almost hypnotic and memorable. It also reinforces important themes and ideas effectively. You can apply repetition carefully within your narrative. For example, repeat certain phrases during key emotional moments, or echo similar events with different outcomes for contrast. This creates a sense of unity throughout your story, and it makes your writing feel more intentional and crafted. Another powerful element is the use of archetypes. Myths often include familiar character roles and personalities. The reluctant hero, the wise mentor, the trickster figure. These archetypes feel familiar but still deeply engaging because they represent universal human behaviors and traits. However, do not rely on archetypes without adding originality. Twist them, challenge them, or combine them creatively. Make your characters feel both familiar and unexpected. This keeps your audience curious and emotionally invested. Dialogue also plays a crucial role in myth-inspired writing. It should feel meaningful, not casual or unnecessary. Every line should reveal character, tension, or deeper truth. Sometimes less dialogue creates more impact and mystery. Silence can be just as powerful as spoken words. Now, let's talk about consequences in your story. In myths, actions always carry weight and lasting impact. A single decision can shape the fate of entire worlds. This sense of consequence creates strong emotional stakes. You should ensure every action matters in your narrative. When characters make choices, show the full impact clearly. Let victories come with costs and losses bring transformation. This makes your story feel real and emotionally powerful. Another key element is the passage of time. Myths often feel timeless, stretching across generations or eras. You can reflect this through history, legends, and forgotten events. Create a sense that your world existed before the story and will continue to exist long after it ends. This gives your writing a sense of scale and depth. Readers feel like they are witnessing only part of something larger, and that feeling makes your world unforgettable. But here is where everything becomes even more powerful. Because technique alone does not create truly impactful stories. There is one deeper element that changes everything completely. It determines whether your story is good or unforgettable. And most writers completely overlook this crucial factor. Once you understand it, your writing will never be the same. So now, let's uncover the final secret behind mythic storytelling. Here is the truth most writers never fully understand about myths. It is not the structure, symbols, or characters that matter most. The real power lies in the emotion behind the story. Ancient myths survived because they made people feel something deeply. Fear, wonder, hope, loss, and meaning were woven into every tale. Without emotion, even the most detailed world feels empty. Without emotion, even powerful characters feel distant and forgettable. And without emotion, myths lose the magic that made them timeless. That is the missing piece many writers struggle to find. And once you understand it, everything begins to change. Think about the myths you remember the most clearly. You probably remember how they made you feel, not details. The awe of powerful gods or terrifying unknown creatures. The sadness of tragic endings or impossible sacrifices. That emotional imprint is what stays with you forever. So how do you bring that same power into your writing? You stop focusing only on what happens in the story and start focusing on how it makes your reader feel. Every scene should carry an emotional purpose and intention. Every moment should move the reader internally, not just externally. When a character faces fear, make the reader feel it too. When something is lost, let that loss resonate deeply. When hope appears, make it feel earned and meaningful. This is how stories become experiences instead of information. Now here comes the deeper realization that changes everything. You are not just telling a story about your characters. You are creating an emotional journey for your audience. They are the ones truly experiencing every moment you write, and their connection determines your story's lasting impact. This means every decision you make must serve emotion first. World building, magic systems, and lore should support that feeling, not distract from it or overwhelm your narrative. Simplicity with emotional depth often creates the strongest impact. That is why some simple myths feel more powerful than complex novels. They focus on universal emotions rather than unnecessary details. And that focus creates clarity, connection, and lasting meaning. Now imagine combining everything you have learned so far. Strong themes, symbolic depth, archetypes, and emotional storytelling. Your writing begins to feel layered and meaningful. It becomes something readers can feel, not just understand. But here is the final twist you did not expect. The most powerful myths were never written to impress others. They were created to express truth as people understood it. Their purpose was connection, not perfection or complexity. And that is the mindset you must adopt. Stop trying to write something that sounds impressive. Start writing something that feels honest and meaningful. Let your own perspective shape the story naturally, because authenticity creates stronger impact than perfection ever could. Your fears, beliefs, and experiences are part of your voice. When you embrace them, your writing becomes unique and powerful. That is what makes your story stand out naturally. Now, take a moment to reflect on your current writing. Are you focusing more on details than emotional connection? Are you building worlds but forgetting to build feelings? Because that shift changes everything about your storytelling. So here is what you should do starting today. Choose one myth and study its emotional core deeply. Understand what it tries to express about human experience. Then create something new inspired by that same feeling. Do not copy the story. Copy the emotional truth. Build your own world around that central idea. Let your characters struggle with that same theme uniquely, and allow the story to evolve naturally from there. This is how myths become living inspiration, not borrowed ideas. This is how your writing gains depth and lasting impact. And this is how you create stories people never forget. Because in the end, stories are not about worlds or magic. They are about meaning, emotion, and human connection. That is what makes them timeless across generations. Now the next step is completely up to you. Will you continue writing the same way as before? Or will you transform your stories into something truly powerful? Because that choice defines your growth as a writer. So start today and let your stories become modern myths.